Madison stood frozen in the doorway, keys dangling from her fingers, eyes locked on the scene in front of her. I was on the couch, shirtless. Haley straddled my lap, laughing, her fingers still tangled in my hair. A bottle of red wine half finished on the table. Our plates from dinner sat pushed aside, neither of us had touched them in over an hour. Madison blinked like her brain couldn't compute what she was seeing. The confident, smug wife who left that morning bragging about new experiences was gone. Replaced by someone pale and silent. That silence didn't last. "You have got to be FNG kidding me," she shrieked, slamming the door so hard a photo frame rattled off the wall. Haley froze. I didn't move. I kept my eyes on Madison, waiting. Watching. "What the hell is this, Blake?" I tilted my head and finally stood, adjusting my jeans slowly, not rushing a single movement. "It's exactly what you said you wanted, remember?" I said calmly. "Something fun. Something open. For both of us." That's when it hit her. Her smirk, the one she wore for weeks, evaporated. Her power was gone, and she knew it. She thought I'd break when she brought up an open relationship. She thought I'd sit at home, waiting while she played dress-up for another man. Instead, I beat her at her own twisted little game. Let's rewind a little. 2 weeks ago, Madison told me over breakfast, with a casualness that made my skin crawl, that she wanted to open things up. She said we were still young, still hot, and that marriage shouldn't feel like a cage. She chuckled, even winked at me. "It'll be good for both of us, Blake. You can explore too, if you want." Right. As if she was doing me a favor by letting another guy ruin what used to be our sacred bond. But I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I didn't ask why. I just nodded. "Sure," I told her. "Let's do that." Madison smirked. That smug, entitled smirk like she'd just flipped the script and I was too weak to stop her. She thought I'd break. She had no idea I'd already found the truth. She was already cheating. Found out through her phone. I'd noticed the late-night showers. The secretive smiles. And when I cloned her messages, it was all right there. Her calling Dylan babe, texting him from our bed. Pictures. Dirty promises. Hotel receipts. She thought I didn't know. So I decided to let her walk herself into a trap. I let her feel safe. Let her run her mouth, thinking she had control. But I didn't waste time. I got my own life together. Reconnected with old friends. Hit the gym. Changed how I dressed. That's when I met Haley, bold, gorgeous, nothing like Madison. She didn't play games. She didn't hide anything. And that night, when Madison walked in, expecting to catch me lonely and bitter, she saw something she wasn't ready for. She saw me happy. And worse, she saw me done with her. She yelled. Screamed. Demanded answers. But I stayed calm. I wasn't hers anymore. "I thought this is what you wanted," I said, walking past her toward the hallway. "You opened the door, Madison. Don't cry now that someone else walked in." And that was just the beginning. The night she found me with Haley wasn't the explosion, it was just the spark. What came after, that's where the real fire started. She didn't sleep at home that night. After her screaming fit, Madison stormed out, slamming the door like she thought it'd shatter the walls. I sat back down with Haley, but neither of us had the appetite anymore. Her mood had shifted, of course. It's not easy being the girl who gets caught in a battlefield like that. I walked her to the car, kissed her forehead, and promised I'd call. Then I just stood there on the porch, barefoot, watching the taillights fade into the dark, thinking, damn. What just happened? But I didn't regret it. Madison stayed quiet for 2 full days. No calls. No texts. Nothing. I knew her. This was the silent treatment she used whenever things didn't go her way. She wasn't mourning the relationship. She was recalculating her next move. That woman never let go of control without a fight. By the third day, she messaged. We need to talk. Face to face. I deserve that. Deserve? That word made me laugh out loud. I agreed. Not for her, but for me. I needed to look her in the eye. To make sure I wasn't romanticizing the past. Because I still remembered the old Madison. The one I met in college. The one who laughed at my dumb jokes and kissed me like she'd never loved anyone before. But that Madison? She died somewhere along the road. Replaced by a stranger with sharp lips and colder eyes. When she came by, she looked different. No makeup. Hair tied up. Not the polished version she gave to Dylan or whatever flavor of the week she was using. This was the raw version. Maybe the real one. She didn't even sit down. She stood by the window, arms folded, tapping her nails against her elbow like she was trying to scratch something beneath her skin. So, Haley, she asked, like she didn't already know. I nodded. You didn't waste any time. Neither did you. Her eyes narrowed. It wasn't the same. No? I laughed bitterly. You wanted freedom. I gave it to you. You wanted honesty, I gave you silence instead of fights. You wanted to feel alive again? Great. But guess what, Madison, so did I. She stepped forward. I didn't cheat. I actually smiled. Oh, we're doing that? She flinched. Just a little. Just enough. I pulled my phone from the table, scrolled, and handed it to her. Her messages with Dylan. The selfies. The heart emojis. The invitation to the hotel on our anniversary weekend. Her face turned to stone. You went through my phone? I didn't even blink. No, I cloned it. You're not hard to figure out, Madison. You use the same password for everything. I could have hacked you in my sleep. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You really watched everything? Every damn message. She didn't cry. That was the scariest part. She didn't even apologize. She just stood there, breathing through her nose, like a child caught stealing but too stubborn to admit it. I was unhappy, she said eventually. I thought maybe if I found something new, I'd feel something again. I leaned against the counter. So instead of talking to me, you went looking for a better version of me? She didn't answer. That's when it all really hit me. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't ashamed. She was mad that she got caught and that I beat her at her own game. I felt nothing. No heartbreak. No sadness. Just this deep, bitter calm. Madison, I said, we're done. Her lips trembled. So that's it? That's it. And for the first time in years. I saw fear in her eyes. She didn't move. Just stood there in the middle of our kitchen like the floor beneath her might give out. And maybe it had, at least the ground she thought she controlled. Madison wasn't used to losing. Especially not to me. I gave you everything, she whispered, her voice shaking, but not from sadness. From disbelief. Entitlement. I stared at her, arms folded. No, Madison. You gave me rules. Ultimatums. And a checklist for your exit plan. You called it love, but it was a damn business transaction. Her jaw clenched. Don't turn this around on me. You didn't fight for us. You didn't stop me. And that's your excuse? I asked. That I didn't chain you to the marriage you were already cheating in? That hit her. Hard. But not enough to break the act. Madison walked over to the island, her hand brushing the surface where we used to eat breakfast together, back when mornings felt like something sacred. I was drowning, Blake. You don't understand how dead I felt inside. No, I said, stepping forward. You don't get to twist this into some therapy session. You lied to me. You faked our life while letting some other guy do what you stopped doing months ago. She looked at me, defiant. It was just a few times. I laughed. It wasn't even funny, it was pathetic. You want credit for cheating less than you could've? Silence again. She reached into her bag, pulled out her keys, like she was ready to walk out with the final word. But I wasn't done. One question, I said. She paused. Did you ever even love me? Or was I just convenient? Her eyes flickered. She didn't answer fast enough. And that was answer enough. I nodded. Got it. She turned to leave, but then turned back. You're acting like a victim, Blake. But you knew. You knew and said nothing. You played me. Damn right I did, I said. You wanted a game? I played better. That's when her mask slipped. She didn't cry. She snarled. That beautiful face twisted into something cruel, like she was done pretending to be the wounded wife. You think Haley will last? She snapped. She's a rebound. She's not me. Exactly, I said with a smile. She's not. And I meant it. Haley didn't lie. She didn't fake affection. She didn't weaponize love. Madison left in a storm of perfume and slammed doors. But something told me that wasn't the last time I'd see her. Women like her don't vanish quietly. They haunt. They claw their way back into your peace just to shatter it again. That night, I sat alone. No Haley. No distractions. Just me and the ghosts in the walls. I looked at our wedding photo. The one where she wore that fake princess smile and I stood beside her thinking I'd won life's lottery. Stupid. I grabbed it, stared at it for a moment, then threw it into the fireplace. The glass cracked loud enough to feel like closure. Because that's what it was. She didn't break me. She woke me up. And now, I wasn't the same Blake who once begged for affection from a woman who saved it for someone else. I was rebuilding. On my terms. The morning after I burned the wedding photo, I didn't feel broken. I didn't feel relieved either. It was something different. Like I'd stepped out of a fog I didn't even know I was in. Clarity has a weird way of feeling cold and liberating at the same time. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't trying to fix things. I was finally seeing things for what they were. But Madison wasn't done. 2 days later, she showed up again, uninvited. Same perfume. Same forced smile. Only this time, she wasn't playing the confused wife. Now she was in full manipulation mode. I've been thinking, she said the second I opened the door, as if I'd actually invited her to. I leaned against the frame. That's dangerous. She didn't laugh. Maybe we rushed things. Maybe we let emotions get in the way. Maybe we just need space and time to work this out. Space and time? I repeated. You mean like the space between you and Dylan in the backseat of his car? Her lips tightened. Blake, don't be cruel. Oh, I'm sorry, I said with a mocking tone. I forgot. I'm the villain for reacting to your betrayal. She stepped inside without waiting for permission, brushing past me like this was still her house. You were never this cold, she muttered. No, I said. I wasn't. But that guy's dead. You buried him the night you told me open relationships should be fun. She turned, frustrated. What do you want me to say? That I made a mistake? That Dylan meant nothing? Did he? She hesitated. It wasn't about him. I nodded. Then it was about you. Madison flopped onto the couch like it still belonged to her, crossing her legs like she was in a therapy session. I felt invisible, Blake. You stopped noticing me. You stopped touching me. I didn't feel wanted. Because you were already gone, I said flatly. You checked out long before you spread your legs. Her face burned red. You've changed. Good, I said. Because the man you married would have forgiven you. I won't. She stood up. So that's it? You're just walking away. You already walked away, I said. You just didn't expect me to beat you to the door. The look on her face wasn't sadness. It was rage. Rage that her plan backfired. That the soft husband she'd once controlled now stood tall without needing her approval, her body, or her lies. She stormed out again. I didn't follow. I didn't care. But the fire wasn't out yet. A few days later, I got a call from Haley. She messaged me, she said, her voice tight. Madison. She said things. Vile things. My stomach twisted. What kind of things? She told me I was just your rebound. That you were still in love with her. That she'd take you back the second you realized I was a cheap stand-in. Typical Madison. When she couldn't win with truth, she played dirty with lies. I took a deep breath. Don't believe a word she says. This isn't about you. It's about her losing control. Haley was quiet. Then she said something that cut deeper than Madison ever could. Blake, are you really over her? I froze. Because deep down, I wasn't sure. I wanted to be. But when someone lies in your bed, your life, your heart for that long, they don't just vanish. They stain. Even when you burn the photos, the ashes linger. The question haunted me all night. Are you really over her? I stared at the ceiling for hours, trying to convince myself the answer was yes. That the fire had burned everything between Madison and me into nothing. But it hadn't. Not completely. There were still pieces, charred and ugly, buried deep in the ashes. The kind of pieces you don't realize are still sharp until you step on them in the dark. I wanted to call Haley back. Tell her I was sure. Tell her Madison meant nothing now. But the truth? I wasn't sure. Not because I wanted Madison back. God, no. But because I hated that she still had that much power. That even after everything, her words could get inside my head and stir up the wreckage. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in weeks. I went to therapy. Yeah, the guy who used to scoff at the idea of talking to strangers about his feelings was now the one sitting on a couch, fingers locked together, trying to explain how it felt to be gutted from the inside out by someone who once called him her everything. The therapist was sharp. Not warm, but not cold either. Just real. So why are you here today? She asked. I paused. Because I'm angry. Not just at her, but at myself. For not seeing it sooner. For staying too long. For still giving a damn. She nodded slowly. Closure isn't about forgetting. It's about understanding. And then, letting go of what's not yours to carry. It sounded simple. It wasn't. That afternoon, I found myself parked outside the gym where Madison used to meet Dylan. Don't ask me why. Some part of me wanted to see if he was still around. If she had really moved on, or if she'd burned her own world down too. I sat there for 15 minutes before I saw him. Muscular. Tan. Full of that fake alpha energy that made women swoon and real men roll their eyes. He laughed with some girl by his car, someone who wasn't Madison. They were definitely close. That's when it hit me. She wasn't special to him. Just another name in his phone. Another body in rotation. She'd risked everything for a guy who probably didn't even remember her birthday. It was pathetic. I pulled away from the curb and drove home with one thought echoing in my skull. She threw away our marriage for a guy who wouldn't even delete Tinder. That night, I called Haley. I'm sorry, I said as soon as she picked up. Silence. Then, for what? For hesitating. For letting her mess with my head. You didn't deserve that. No, she said. I didn't. But I get it. And just like that, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Peace. Madison texted me that same night. I hadn't blocked her yet. I should have. I saw you today. Watching him. You still care. I didn't reply. She sent another. You'll never be done with me. You know that, right? Still, I said nothing. Because sometimes silence is louder than 1,000 words. And for once, mine was deafening. I stared at her last message for a solid minute. You'll never be done with me. You know that, right? It wasn't love. It wasn't regret. It was a threat. A bitter reminder that she still thought she owned a piece of me, like some damn souvenir from a marriage she wrecked. She really believed she could still crawl back into my life any time she snapped her fingers. That was Madison's poison. She didn't need to be loved, she just needed to be wanted. But this time, I didn't bite. I blocked her. Phone, socials, email, everything. And when I hit that final block button, it didn't feel like revenge. It felt like freedom. A week passed. No drama. No calls. No late-night knock on the door. Just silence. Haley and I spent more time together, calmer, slower. She didn't push. She didn't pry. And I appreciated that more than she knew. We'd sit on my balcony at night, sipping wine, listening to city noise like it was music. She wasn't trying to fix me. She was just there. But peace? That was something Madison couldn't stand. I got served papers on a Wednesday. I was mid-lunch when a man walked up to my table and handed me a thin envelope with her name stamped on the corner. Madison was filing for spousal support. I laughed. I actually laughed. Loud enough that the people at the tables nearby turned their heads. Haley reached for the envelope. What is it? I handed it over. She wants money now. Says she gave up her career path for our marriage and deserves compensation. Haley blinked. She cheated on you. Yup. She wanted the open relationship. Correct again. She's insane. Absolutely. It wasn't about money. Madison had a job. She was fine. This was her way of clawing back control. If she couldn't have my heart, she'd try to hit my wallet. Typical scorched earth. I called my lawyer. His tone was as dry as ever. Don't worry, Blake. She doesn't have a case. We'll respond, and we'll crush it. Still, it pissed me off. Not because she wanted money, but because she still thought I was weak enough to let her take something else from me. So I responded with something stronger than a counterclaim. I exposed the truth. I compiled every screenshot, every voice message, every shady little secret she'd ever sent to Dylan and every other guy. I gave my lawyer the full picture. Timeline, dates, hotel receipts, everything. I wasn't just defending myself. I was burning the bridge behind her. 2 days later, she messaged me from a new number. You're really going to do this? You're going to drag me through court like I'm some gold-digging whore? That was her word. Whore. Not mine. I replied only once. I gave you silence. You wanted war. She didn't respond. Haley was quiet that night as we watched TV. I could feel something brewing behind her eyes. You okay? I asked. She looked over. Do you think she'll ever stop? I shrugged. Only when she finds a new target. Haley leaned her head on my shoulder. Then let's make sure she never gets another opening. And just like that, I knew. Madison's games were done. Because I wasn't playing anymore. Let her scream into the void. Let her tell her twisted version of the story. I didn't need to defend myself to anyone. The people who mattered already knew the truth. And Madison? She was just another chapter. The worst one. But not the last. The court date came faster than expected. I showed up in a suit, nothing fancy, but clean, sharp. The kind of look that said, I'm not here to fight. I'm here to end this. Madison sat 2 rows ahead, pretending to be calm, but I knew that twitch in her jaw. That was rage barely kept in check. She had makeup on, hair styled to perfection. probably thought she could charm the room. She always believed she could twist any story if she wore the right lipstick and tilted her head at the right angle. But facts don't care about your smirk. My lawyer dismantled her narrative piece by piece. The judge didn't even need half the evidence. Once we laid out the timeline, her messages, her dates, her requests for freedom, it was over. No spousal support. No settlement. Nothing. Just a clean, legal end. When the judge made it official, I felt nothing. Not joy. Not anger. Just this hollow click, like a door closing behind me. One I didn't need to open ever again. Madison didn't look at me on her way out. She didn't say a word. But I caught her reflection in the courthouse glass, eyes wide, lips tight. That look she wore when she realized she couldn't spin this anymore. She lost. And not because I ruined her. But because she exposed herself. Later that evening, I went back to the apartment and poured myself a glass of bourbon. Sat on the balcony. City lights blinking in the distance. I could hear the hum of late-night traffic below and, for the first time in months, my own heartbeat not racing from stress. Haley came over around 9. She didn't ask about the hearing. She already knew. She just hugged me. And that one small thing, her hands around me, meant more than anything Madison had said in the last 2 years. "You're quiet," she said after a while. "I'm processing." Haley nodded. "Take your time. I'm not going anywhere." That line. "I'm not going anywhere." It hit me hard. Not because I doubted her, but because I had finally realized I didn't have to constantly earn someone's presence. Haley wasn't holding her affection hostage. She wasn't making me jump through hoops. She stayed because she wanted to. Madison always made me feel like I was one mistake away from being unlovable. Haley made me feel like even in my worst moments, I was still enough. But even with her beside me, I couldn't lie to myself. Some wounds take longer to close. Sometimes at night, I'd wake up half expecting to hear Madison's laugh echo down the hallway, or catch her scent on the sheets. But those were ghosts. And I was done letting them haunt me. I started journaling again, something I hadn't done since college. Not to write poetry or letters to the past, but to remind myself of the facts. To track the truth. Every day, I'd write one thing I knew for sure. Day 1, she lied. Day 4, I'm not broken. Day 7, her leaving wasn't a loss. It was an exit from a prison I didn't know I was in. And somewhere around day 12, I wrote. I don't hate her anymore. But I'll never thank her either. Forgiveness isn't for them. It's for you. It's closing the chapter without burning the whole book. And I was getting close. One page at a time. It took months, but the day finally came when I stood in front of the mirror and didn't see a broken man anymore. No more circles under my eyes from sleepless nights. No more clenched jaw from holding back things I should have screamed long ago. The man staring back wasn't bitter, he was awake. Sharper. Calmer. Someone who had been dragged through hell and made it out without smelling like smoke. And Madison? She became just another lesson. She tried texting again. One last attempt. A number I didn't recognize popped up on a random Tuesday evening. I miss what we had. I think about us a lot. I stared at the screen, lips curling into the smallest grin. Not from happiness, but from clarity. She didn't miss me. She missed the version of me that tolerated her lies, fed her ego, and kept her pedestal polished. She missed control. I didn't respond. Because what would I even say? That I hoped she was doing well? That I forgave her? No. She didn't need words from me. She needed silence. Permanent, solid silence. The kind that lets someone know they no longer matter, not out of spite, but because you finally healed. I blocked the number. That was the true final act. Not slamming doors. Not courtrooms or revenge. Just, cutting the last thread she was dangling from. Haley saw me that night and noticed the difference immediately. "You look lighter," she said. "I am." We made dinner together, nothing fancy, just pasta and wine. But everything tasted better now. Music played low in the background, and she danced barefoot in the kitchen while I watched, thinking, this is what peace looks like. This is what real feels like. She didn't ask about Madison anymore. That chapter was closed. What mattered now was us, not built on fantasy or control or manipulation. Just honesty, warmth, and damn good timing. One evening, as we watched the sun disappear over the skyline, Haley turned to me and said something that stuck. "You know, sometimes it takes losing the wrong person to realize how wrong they actually were." She was right. Madison made me doubt myself. Question my worth. Tiptoe around her moods, like I was constantly trying not to set off landmines. That wasn't love. That was survival. With Haley, I didn't have to survive. I could just be. Looking back now, I see the signs I ignored. The little lies. The way she'd weaponize affection, withdraw intimacy, manipulate me into thinking her neglect was my fault. It wasn't. None of it was. But I don't hate Madison. Because hating her would mean I still care. And I don't. Not anymore. If I had to give advice to anyone going through what I went through, it'd be this. Stop trying to fix people who break you. Stop romanticizing potential while they erase your reality. Don't settle for someone who loves you in halves while expecting your whole heart. You deserve more. And so did I. And in the end, I got it. Not because I won some dramatic battle, but because I chose to stop fighting for someone who stopped choosing me a long time ago. Madison was the storm that wrecked my house. But Haley was the peace that helped me rebuild it.